Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Adventures of a Real Estate Investor. I'm Susie.
And I'm Michael, and we're excited you join us for this adventure.
So today's very special guest comes all the way from Mexico City, which is super exciting because Michael and I love recording when people are in other places other than the US too. But she is very special to me, and her name is Sarah Weaver. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Susie. Thanks, Michael.
Yeah, and we are just super excited. And just to let the listeners know, so I had the privilege of meeting Sarah at InvestorCon, and she was a speaker there. And right away, right, her like personality is very bubbly like mine. Her adventurous spirit is very, very similar to mine. And I was like, we need to be friends. So I'm very thankful that that conference brought us together.
Me too, Susie. It's so nice to meet travelers who also invest and, of course, investors who also love travel. I find that a lot of people invest in real estate for their why. A lot of people are encouraged to know your why. And for me, travel is a big part of that.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Same here.
Right. It just, I don't know. I feel like life's more fun that way.
It
Absolutely.
is.
Well, Susie knows a lot about you, but I don't, and our listeners don't. Would you mind sharing with our adventurous family a little bit more about your background and like why you started investing in real estate?
Absolutely. So I got into real estate back in 2015 and realized really quickly that it was what I thought location fixed. Knowing what I know now, I would have done everything differently, but it's that everything. So
Yeah.
I was a real estate agent in 2015 and thankfully met a woman, also a real estate agent, who what was doing what I now call the live and flip. But at the time, I didn't know that. I was just like, cool, she buys these houses. She lives in like a renovation, even if it's a mess, because she and I both believe in delayed gratification. She would raise the value of the house and then she would move out, either turning it into a rental or selling it and taking the proceeds and doing it again. And so she was like house hacking, live and flip, using the Burr method, all of these kind of simultaneously. And I thought, okay, that's really cool. It took a few years for me to implement all of those strategies, but I'm proud to say that I've now done all of those. And it's what funds my travels. And then from that, it spun off into I now own four companies that are all travel or real estate related in some capacity.
Cool. What are those four companies? Just curious.
Yeah, so I coach real estate agents and real estate investors. So I own a coaching company. We have a 12-week program that I take people from owning 1 to 3 rentals to ideally owning 3 to 30 rentals. And then I also offer one-on-one coaching. I really like working with real estate agents. I think that they have a really unique set of skills and like tools in their tool belt that lend really well to investing in real estate. And it's shocking. I don't know if you guys know this, but only 5% of real estate agents own rental properties.
Oh,
Wow.
wow. No, I didn't know that. But like
Yeah.
even from our side with multifamily, we found that a lot of brokers don't invest in multifamily. I'm like, this is crazy to me.
Yep. And I'm on a mission with that company to single-handedly change that figure. When I speak at a real estate brokerage, which I do, I travel all over the US and Canada speaking to brokerages. I really hope that within 6 months, 20% of that office owns at least one rental property.
That's cool.
And so, yeah, really on a mission to change that. So that's my coaching business. I also own a company called Aria Design Services, and we furnish Airbnbs for investors. So, yes, listeners, I get paid to spend other people's money decorating houses. And it is an absolute dream job. So far this year, believe we've done 27 units in 11 states all over the US.
Wow.
And my business partner and I both were on a business trip to Guatemala and we furnished a unit in Detroit, Michigan from Guatemala. So like everything is possible because of the internet.
Yeah, and you know what I love about that? Like something big with Who Not How by Dan Sullivan, right? That's a great example of that. You could really, really, really want to get into Airbnbs and you're like, well, nobody will like mine, right? I don't know what to put in it for it to stand out from others. Like this is a great opportunity to figure that out. Like there are people who will make it look amazing for you, right? If you're just good at the numbers and you're like, I can get it, like I understand the numbers, I can get it under contract, I can buy it, but then what? Like right here, this is a great example.
Well, you guys are a great example. Like if you heard about medium term rentals, which is my like strategy that I focus on, and you live in the UK right now, and let's say that you had a deal come across your email inbox that you could buy a duplex in Des Moines, well then who's going to furnish it for you? Well, hello, call Aria Design Services and we'll do it for you. And then you don't need to fly to Iowa. You can stay where you are and we'll take care of it for you. And so that's our ideal client. Our ideal client lives somewhere else and they're buying out of state. So they're an out of state investor and we're helping them launch their Airbnb. So in addition to furnishing it, we're writing their listing description, posting it on Airbnb, Furnish Finder, doing all your automated messaging, really setting you up to have a 5-star business.
That's awesome.
Cool. So it's like a full service then.
Yeah,
Almost.
completely full service. And then I'm launching my third company, which will be hosting. So a lot of our ARIA design clients are asking, hey, will you manage my short-term rental? And up until now, the answer has been not yet. And I'm really excited to say that on October 1st, we are launching a co-hosting company. So I will manage medium-term rentals all over the United States for our clients.
That's cool.
It is so cool.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah. And then last but not least is company number 4, which is the one I'm excited to talk to you guys about, which is travel. So I own an events company. We have a few different trips, I guess you call them. I keep calling them products. So one of our trips is an investor retreat. And it truly is a retreat. It's high end. We choose really cool locations now all over the world. I've had my first international retreat and it will not be the last. And this is for the investor who feels like they're an island. So they heard about real estate investing, they listened to your podcast. They're like, okay, this is really cool. But when I go drop my kids off at school, like I don't have none of the other moms want to talk about real estate investing, or my aunt thinks I'm crazy, my parents aren't supporting me, like whatever it is, they feel like they're lonely. That's truly who the retreats are for. And then people who know that they're destined to own not just 1 or 2 units, but a lot of real estate, but kind of figuring out, I love that you mentioned Dan Sullivan's book, kind of figuring out with the who, not how of real estate investing. That's really what the retreat focuses on.
And it's like super cool about that is that could be anyone. And I'm sure a lot of people think that like they might be kind of isolated in that, but Michael and I even experienced that, right? Like when we started this journey, our parents were kind of like, okay, and my friends still don't really understand. And there are a lot of us experience it, whether you're brand new or if you are successful in real estate. So, like, this is really, really cool that you created a space where people can be like, just super excited.
Well, when I find that it happens at different stages. So like when I just wanted to buy my first rental property, I didn't really need a community. I made when I make a decision, I just, I do it. I buy the plane ticket. And in this case, I bought the house. But when I made a decision that I didn't want to be a small investor and I wanted to have a massive portfolio, or at least at my first like milestone was I want all of my expenses covered by passive income through real estate investing, that was the moment that I like looked around and I was like, okay, I'm feeling a little lonely now.
So, what made you want to incorporate the travel? I mean, I know you love it, but like you had this idea, and then how did it go until you were like, yes, I'm implementing it. This is what I want to do?
Yeah, I think for me, traveling has always been a why not? Like people ask, like, why do you travel by yourself? Or why did you move to South Korea? And for me, it was always, well, why not? But I realized that's not normal. Like most people aren't like that. And I keep hearing when people share their why, like why they invest in real estate, I keep hearing, I want to travel. I want to travel. And I hear things like, yes, in 3 years, I want to do that. Or when the kids are out of the house, or whatever their win is. I keep thinking, what if another pandemic happens? What if someone dies? What if something terrible happens? And not because I'm pessimistic, but I just keep thinking, why wait? I was in a near fatal car accident in high school. And I think that that moment changed me forever because I spent the rest of my life, like I studied abroad summer after freshman year, where most people do it summer after junior year. I thought, well, what if I don't make it to junior year? not because I like lived my life scared, but I lived my life like, you only get so many trips around the sun.
Yeah.
Why are you waiting 5 years to go travel the world when you could book the plane ticket right now? And then I realized people's real fear was doing it on their own.
Mm.
And so I'm removing that fear and saying, hey, here's my hand, grab it, I'll take you with me.
I like that. Go around the airport, and this is just more of a joke, right? When you see like people with their kids on leashes, like that'll be you with all of us. Like
Exactly.
we made it. No, that's
Yeah. But in their little kitty backpack, there will be tequila. And, like, yeah.
right. Yeah.
I love it. I had a follow-up question about your design company for Airbnb. So like for short-term, medium-term rentals. Have you had clients come to you who have like a failing short-term rental and they're like, I don't know why this is not producing the income because they have like a table and a chair in there or something like that. Do they come to you and like, please help me?
Yes. And I love helping clients like this. So I have a client who he has, gosh, how many? He has about 15 Airbnbs. And he sent me one. He sent me the listing photos and he's like, can I just pay you for your design opinion on what the heck to do with this? So I don't remember if he bought it furnished or I don't know how he got the property. But yeah, I went through each listing photo and his listing description and essentially audited both all of the photos, told him, take that off the wall, switch out the bedding. Here's the link that I would use this bedding and really audited his listing for him.
That's cool. And like obviously it changes from city to city and state to state. Like, how did you get to know all the information about this? Like, is just studying a bunch of Airbnbs that are successful in the area, or like looking at like data that's available, or what?
Yes, great question. So I wrote the book on medium term rental. It will be published November 6th. And you're exactly right. I did a ton of research. It's also really interesting being a traveler lended its hand into that research. I've stayed at over 100 Airbnbs myself personally.
That's cool.
And so I know like what guests are looking for, where properties start to fall apart. So for example, I just stayed at one in Sayulita, Mexico, and the air condition was dripping onto the paintings. And so in the photos, like the listing photos of the apartment looks immaculate, but then when you arrive, like everything looks really dingy. And so I also have the mind that you not only want it to look good for the photos, but you don't want to have to go back to your property every 6 months and spice it up, especially if you're an out of state investor. And so I'm really mindful on not only aesthetic and decor, but also durability.
Yeah, love that. We've been, I don't know, duped or whatever you want to call it, like where we've stayed at Airbnb, you looked at the listing photos and it's just like, it looks amazing. You know, you rent it, like, oh, cool, they have a hammock on the balcony and it's outside. And then you show up, no hammock. You're like, well, that's why we rented it. You know, it's like one of the selling points, right? Or like, yeah, I don't know, this other weird one where this guy was continuously fixing stuff while we were there. And I was like,
Oh yeah, that was weird.
dude, this is in Malta or whatever. And like, dude, like, can you leave us alone? Like, don't come
Yeah.
into space, like, whatever. But anyway, really weird experience. We have some really cool experiences.
And we have really weird ones.
Oh, me too. Me too. We could write a book.
Yeah, maybe we should. Cool. As far as the hosting business as well, like, what made you? I mean, that's gonna be a lot of work and require a lot of employees and stuff like that. Maybe, maybe you just do it yourself. But like, what made you want to say yes to that and move forward with that?
Yeah. Again, I'll tie it back to Dan Sullivan's book, Who Not How. Clients kept asking for it, and I was leaving money on the table and not providing the service that I know that I can. And so I met the who and hired her, and she's going to figure out the how. And so I'm really excited about that business because a lot of property managers who specialize in long term don't specialize in short term. So then you have to go find, there are a lot of companies that specialize in short term. So then you go find a short term property management, but they don't want to touch medium term. And so there's this gap in the market. I also own duplexes, and I really recommend this strategy. I own duplexes where one unit is a long term rental and the next door unit is a medium term rental, and property managers don't want to touch the building.
Hmm.
And so I'm going to be the solution for that problem that a lot of investors have.
Can you define medium term rental for our
Absolutely.
listeners?
So medium term is a furnished unit similar to a short term rental. So when you think Airbnb or VRBO, the difference is that a medium term rental is going to be 30 days or longer. And the reason that that's important or why that matters is a lot of cities are cracking down on STR regulations. So they're not allowing stays shorter than 7 days or even shorter stays than 30 days. But as of right now, there are no regulations on 30 days or more. They're actually regulated the same as a long term rental. The difference between a medium term rental and a long term rental, not only is the lease term shorter, but the cash flow is almost double. And so I'm able to rent out a furnished space for significantly more than I am long term.
Mhm.
And then the reason that I wouldn't do short term in a lot of markets that allow it is I just have less turnover. So, for example, I have a 1 bedroom unit in Omaha in a building next door to another 1 bedroom unit. Right now, I'm running one of them as a short term rental. It allows 2 night, 3 night, 4 night stays, whatever it may be. And then I have a traveling nurse in the unit next door. My net is higher with the traveling nurse
Cool.
Oh, wow.
because I'm not getting as high of occupancy now that it's the end of summer or going into fall. And so it makes sense for me to switch all of my short-term rentals to medium-term rentals during these months because
Oh.
I'm actually netting more. And it's awesome. You have a traveling nurse or a digital nomad or whomever move into the unit, and they're going to ask you one time, how do I use the remote? How do I use the coffee maker? It's all in my beautiful house manual that I refer them to. But with a short term rental, you're getting those messages every 3 days because every 3 days a new guest checks in and they're going to have a problem with this or a request or whatever it may be. And it's great. I still think short term rentals are amazing, but you're not a passive investor when you run a short term rental. And so I like medium term because you're just a tad bit more passive, still not passive. You're still running a furnished rental business,
Yeah.
but at least it's a little more passive. And then if you hire my company to host it for you, well, then there you go. You're really passive.
How many seasons did it take for you to make the switch of, okay, I'm doing short-term rentals, like let's try medium term?
Right away, like
Oh,
day one.
cool. Okay.
Yeah.
That was like your
Yep.
business strategy from the very beginning. I like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it's very hard to come by like medium term rentals too. I mean, there's like corporate housing and stuff like that. But like other than that, like yeah, you don't really hear too much about it or can't really find too much of it. Yeah, because we had actually had the issue here, like in the UK, because we have to move out and we were here still for 4 more months. But like, there's
Mm, yeah.
nobody wants to rent to anybody for 4 months.
No.
There's nothing available, and so maybe that's a market that could be tapped over here.
Yep. I think so.
Do you allow pets in medium-term rentals?
I do.
Oh, cool. I do
Yeah.
like that because I'm sure, like, right, some of these whomever also want and love their pets.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
curious, like for medium term rentals, like where do you advertise? Is it through VRBO and Airbnb, or like do they sign some kind of lease or contract or what?
Yeah. Great question. So I list on Airbnb, so they can book directly through Airbnb. If they do that, it's all done through Airbnb. But I also list my unit on Furnish Finder. And Furnish Finder is not a booking site like Airbnb. It's simply an advertisement. So it's like posting it on Craigslist. The difference is that Furnish Finder is the leading source or resource for traveling nurses, traveling professionals, corporate housing. And so they find my listing on Furnish Finder, they message me directly, and then I talk to them off the platform and I set them up with a lease through apartments.com.
Okay, so they can either sign a lease with you or they can just book it through Airbnb.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Do you ever work with like local, I don't know, hospitals or whatever bigger companies? You do that also? Okay.
I do. Yep. I'm in touch with insurance companies because, like, when insurance claims come through, like, unfortunately, like your house burns down or a tree falls on your house, your insurance company will often put you up somewhere. So I'm in touch with insurance companies as well as travel nurse recruiters because sometimes the travel nurses choose to find housing through the recruiting company. And then other times they choose to find it on their own. When they find it on their own, it's typically through Furnish Finder, but I also work with traveling nurse recruiting companies directly.
That's cool.
I was just gonna ask. I wanted to shift to the travel now because I like travel and Susan does too. So it was really cool learning about medium-term rentals. But yeah, I want to shift to travel. What do you envision? I know you kind of mentioned a little bit for your company. What do you envision? Like week-long trips, like month-long trips?
Yeah, I'm so glad. I'm so glad that you asked because I realized I only talked about one of like the four products that we sell. So I have the retreat, which I think is kind of my like trip. And that's for the real estate investor that's really serious about real estate investing. Frankly, it's less about the location that we're going to, even though we go to really cool locations. We went to the Smokies for my first two because I feel like everyone was buying a short-term rental in the Smoky Mountains.
Yeah.
Then we went to Guatemala and for my third retreat. And then at the end of August, we have a retreat in Nashville and I have a 17-bedroom mansion. So we don't do anything small, you guys. Like it's really, really cool. And so that's the retreat. But then I realized that a lot of people have been given the opportunity to work remotely, either just through time or through the pandemic. And so I created a product called Co-work, Co-live. And so in that same house in Antigua, Guatemala, I rented it for the entire month. And then I rented each of the rooms to a new digital nomad, real estate investor, or traveler. And what I created is I created a space for people who can work remotely to take a week of adventure without taking off work. And then the moment they're done, they close their computer and then they know that they're going to be surrounded with cool people, likely all real estate investors. So we were, drinking Guatemalan rum and talking about syndications.
I love it.
We went salsa dancing and then we nursed our hangover the next morning at brunch and talked about 1031 exchange. And so it's really mixing both things, both travel and real estate, or at least creating community with other real estate investors. So that's been really, really fun. And that is not though, like there's no presentations, there's no classroom, there's no mindset work that you get from the retreat. It really is a DIY experience. And so if someone's looking for like a curated travel experience, that's not it. That is more like renting a room and creating your own like co-work, co-live environment. Which brings me to the third product that I now have, which is a curated travel experience. So I'm taking 9 investors to hike the W Trek in Patagonia in February 2023. And really, really excited that one, so many people have showed interest, but two, that people love adventure and travel as much as I do, which obviously you guys do. You're actually beating me there and going to Patagonia. And when do you go?
In November. Yeah.
Yeah. And so there's something to be said about like going to conferences, but sometimes when people take off work and they're using their precious PTO, actually we have a couple moms coming on the trip. So like they have to have childcare and like make arrangements to leave not only just for 7 days, but like be in the wilderness some of the time, about 80% of the time. And so I'm really excited that people are excited about travel.
Yeah, that's cool.
How many of those trips do you think you'll have every year? Or is that a secret? If it's a secret, that's okay too.
No. I think it's kind of the magic question. Just like any business owner, I want to be mindful of demand. And the internet has spoken. I mean, people want this. And so there will be many more trips announced.
Maybe you should do one on a yacht.
Yeah. Where should we go? Where should we
Sailing
go?
around the Mediterranean or
What about the
something.
BVIs?
Or BVIs. Yeah, BVIs would be cool.
Ooh, that would be really cool.
I was like, we have a lot. We have a lot.
You could do like a long monohull or like a catamaran or something like that, full of real estate investors. Would be really cool.
Well, guess what? So my fourth product, I guess we'll call it, is I'm doing something really, really special. I am producing events for other hosts. So what that means is Michael and Susie could invite their audience. You guys pick the location, you sell the seats or sell the tickets. So listeners, if you're listening in, hopefully we'll get a link in the bio. And my company produces the whole thing. And so again, just like everything, this company or this part of the business came about because of demand. I had someone with a pretty large audience come to me and say, how on earth are you doing these events, especially internationally? And they said, I've wanted to do something like this. I have the audience. I think my people want it. And I say, great, we will produce it for you. And, then called my assistant. By the way, we own an event production company now. And I'm really excited. We are announcing that this week. And so that first event, I can say now, because when this airs, it'll be announced. That first event will be in Guatemala at the end of November, beginning of December for 13 investors. And that particular trip will be absolutely action packed. We're going to hike an active volcano. It's actually a 14er, meaning it's 14,000 feet. So that's a hike. We will do ATV. There's an option to do paragliding or zip lining. We'll have an in-house Argentinian chef to teach them Argentinian asada and have a craft cocktail class with our own mixologist on our poolside rooftop.
Wow. That is so cool.
Love it.
I need to get on that person's list also.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm really excited to offer that. So I'm not sure if that's a whole new company. I need to talk to my CPA, but essentially my fourth offering is that I now produce events for other people to host. And so we take all of the stress and the legwork off of, okay, where do these people sleep? How do they get there? How do we bus them? And I even, like I told you that I audit people's listings. Like I just audited the sales page for the Guatemala event and, gave them quite a few tweaks to say, hey, this is actually like what works. And here's what questions you're going to get asked. So add an FAQ section and let's just answer people's questions before they know that they even have them. And so really it's full service travel planning for your audience.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I can't wait to be you when I grow up.
Absolutely. Well, it's been a pleasure. It's getting to the end of the show, which brings us to the Adventures 4. These are 4 exploratory questions we ask all of our guests. So, Sarah, if you're ready, we will begin the questioning.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So the first question we have for you is, well, this might be obvious, but where is one place you wish to travel to and why?
Whew. Man, it's a long list. So I'll just pick one. I want to go to Mendoza. Mendoza is like on the west coast of Argentina, and it's the Napa or Sonoma kind of wine country of Argentina. And so I can just picture myself like having wine, probably with real estate investors, and that's a trip I'm really excited about.
I love that.
It's unplanned. So if there's enough demand, if you guys want to come, I'll actually just book it.
Right? Yeah. I was like, you have 2 out of the 9.
2023. Let's go.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Let's do it.
I can get 2 more immediately.
Okay, cool.
That's funny. So then our second question is, what is one thing on your bucket list and how are you leveraging real estate investing to achieve it?
Man, I own a travel company, you guys. Like my 22-year-old self would be falling out of her chair.
Yeah.
She dreamed big. Like I think Sarah 10 years ago was dreaming big, but nowhere near as big as I am. Like I think I always knew that I would help people and write a book. I just never thought it would look the way that it does now. And so I'm really excited about that.
That's cool. That's awesome. So the third question is, what is one piece of advice for someone who wants to start passively investing in real estate?
Don't wait. Like similar to my concept of you only have so many trips around the sun. It really hurts me when I hear an investor say, I've been listening to Bigger Pockets for 5 years. I'm like, great. How many rentals do you own? None. And it's like, okay, what is missing?
Yeah.
And so I think when that happens, when an investor hears about real estate investing and then years go by before they take action, those are the people that need to sign up for some type of coaching. I'm a real believer in taking the elevator to the top rather than the stairs, because when you take the stairs, things happen and then you might not ever make it to them. You're still going to go somewhere. Like, I don't think everyone needs a coach, but if you're someone listening to this podcast and you want to own real estate and you've been saying that for over a year and a half, then it's time to hire a coach.
Yeah. I agree with that. Thank you for that. So then our fourth and final question is, if you had unlimited resources available to you, how would you leave an impact?
Wow, what a great question. I'm so proud to say I'm doing it. My retreats and even the co-work code resulted in people writing an offer right then and there, from Guatemala. And someone got pre-approved and under contract within 6 days, and she knew nothing about real estate investing.
Oh, wow.
And And so the ability to help people take massive action is exactly like what I was put on this earth to do. And real estate is amazing. And like that is amazing. And that girl deserves to be celebrated. However, I think the really cool part of the event is the unmeasurable, which is someone went home and signed up for therapy, or someone went home and had that fierce conversation with someone that they needed to have. And so really that my events are really fun. Like, don't get me wrong, you guys, like you're not just going to do a ton of inner work. You're also going to have a lot of fun, but the inner work stuff matters.
Mhm.
Totally. No, that was
Very cool.
beautiful.
Yeah.
That's really cool for that woman too. Very proud of her. Claps. Like that's super awesome.
It's really, really cool.
Well, before we end the show, Sarah, would you mind sharing with our adventurous family how they can learn more about you or reach out to you?
Yeah, that would be great. I love hearing. So even if just someone wants to say that they liked the episode or they like to travel too, I would love to hear from people. So they can reach out to me on Instagram. It's Sarah D. Weaver. And then my website is also sarahdweaver.com and lists all of the upcoming events and everything that we've talked about today.
No, it's awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here, Sarah. Like it's always a pleasure. And I just am really happy that we met somebody else who loves travel. So if you also do, or if you need help with anything Airbnb, medium term rental, please, please, please reach out to Sarah.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys.
Yeah. So until next time, explore more, adventure awaits.
Woo!